Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously. So, what do we do? 3, 2, 1, my juice, little lights. Thank you, little lights. You're delicious and bright. Yes, you are, aren't you, little lights? Okay, we're going to keep shining. Now then, my delicious little babies, so there is a little bit of blue sky at 3 in the afternoon in our old England, my delicious little babies. There's an awful lot of not so very nice white and grey fluffy clouds. It has been, if it's raining, it's raining. Now it's sun shining, sunshine on a rainy day. Not as warm as it has been, but never mind, never mind. We shall just plod on. Now then, my delicious little babies, so no videos for today. However, what I do want to say is that because my latest video, there's no surprise, you know what I mean? So, no. So you see, that took hours upon hours upon hours to upload my delicious little babies, and of course, when it did upload, basically, it doesn't receive any views. Okay, so there's clearly things that I'm saying on my videos and giving out information, my delicious little babies, that it's very clear to myself that YouTube does not. Want my video to get out, my delicious little babies, or for that matter, really all of my videos, okay? And that also includes when I do any readings. It's like they're blocking me at every road, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? Okay. That's all right. That's all right. I'm not going to worry myself too much about this. Do you understand? In fact, I'm not worrying myself at all, my delicious little babies. I'm not worrying myself at all. I'm just making yourselves aware of what's happening. Now, of course, you're going to have it on different platforms as well. It's not just on this one, my delicious little babies. There's been many a complaint about Twitter. You see what I mean, okay? Because your videos, if you're telling any form of a truth, okay, well, these are simply not alike in my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean, okay? And of course, the more and more and more that others start to awake, shall we say, my delicious little babies, this is not helping to whom it may concerns situation, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? Okay, of course, yes, we've all seen the for those who have seen my delicious little babies, that pathetic PRRCK Netanyahu. Yes, we've seen his video, and this is all to do with, like censoring, and things like this. Now then, well, I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, who has any right to censor anybody? My delicious little babies, so if you tell the truth for whatever reason and others are not a liking, we're all adults in the room. There we are. We're all adults in the room, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? But if some countries are going to mistreat, say, a lot of other countries in the world, well, they cannot really be expected to be liked very much, can they, my delicious little babies? Then I heard, and our lovely, with anybody not in that way, our lovely trending on Arconic, and you can go on to arconic.com, my delicious little babies, or our lovely, not in that way, our lovely davidark.com, okay? You'll see many articles, many videos, some short, some longer. For myself, I'm super duper happy to watch, all the videos, okay? There we are, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean, okay? I just love to listen to videos like I will repeat again, where they're not full of bullshit, you know what I mean? They're trying their best to help, there we are, mankind. And, they're trying their best to get the information out. But the more and more and more that ones do that, including myself, my delicious little babies. This is just a figure of speech, not in literal terms. You know, they seem to want, there we are, more of a stranglehold. So anybody who seems to have a critical thought pattern, shall we say, my delicious little babies, okay? Somebody who does not follow the leaders, you see what I mean? It seems to whom it may concern is not a liking. Do you see what I'm saying to you, my delicious little babies? So if you look at it right now, there is an awful lot of us, there we are, who it appears, which I've known, there we are, long time, happen to be in the same boat. My delicious little babies, do you see what I mean? Okay? But of course, if you tell a load of bullshit, you know, you go onto YouTube and it's all over the place, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? You just keep feeding everybody, you know, your followers or whatever, your subscribers, and you keep feeding them bullshit. Well, of course, they're going to continue to listen to the bullshit. They're not going to look outside the box, and that's the situation you got there, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So yeah, so what I've been doing, my delicious little babies, getting back to our dear Jamie, not in that way, on trending on Iconic. He was talking on YouTube, my delicious little baby spaces. Should anybody have any form of an interest, that well, there appears to be a problem, it seems, with Trouble Trump as well, my delicious little babies. You see, where have we seen, there we are, where have we seen this before, my delicious little babies? We've seen it with Biden. Now, to this day, okay, unless I can be proved otherwise, okay, my delicious little babies, so at this point, I'm not getting anything across my shoulders, my delicious little babies, unless I can be proved, you know, that Biden, and there is living proof of this, that he genuinely has an illness, okay, my delicious little babies, and I'm not going to believe the bullshit. Okay, my delicious little babies, because if you look at it, it's like saying, okay, well, we can now wipe the slate clean. There wasn't aware of what they were doing. The noddle, you know, not, you know, meaning that in a nasty way, my delicious little babies, against anybody who does happen to suffer with any form of dementia, Alzheimer's, or memory loss of any sort, okay? Because I've had it in my own beautiful, dear little family. How I love my beautiful, dear little nanny and granddad. So I've already said good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to them. My beautiful, dear little nana had dementia. So, and to this day, I do not forgive it. Okay, my delicious little babies, no, I do not. So, for myself, it's easy, okay, let's just say, especially when you're in a limelight like that, to say, well, somebody's got dementia, or somebody's got Alzheimer's, or this condition, that condition. Yes, okay. Because then what it does, it wipes the slate clean, okay? That so anything that they have done really means, according to these, means nothing, my delicious little babies, if you follow me. Do you see what I mean, okay? So now we're hearing it the second time around. Okay, my delicious little babies. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, how many, you know, especially in these politics, how many do you see, you know, in our country and other countries, my delicious little babies, okay? There's not many, if you look at prime ministers, presidents, or whatever leaders they seem to be leading, or supposedly think they're leading, my delicious little babies, how many of them do you actually, in reality, ever see where they have all of these conditions? Because I know for myself, I mean, please do not get me wrong, if there's anybody else out there and they happen to know different, well, then they happen to know different. But for myself, I'm seeing them get older, but I'm not seeing them have any illnesses. For example, like us out here, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. So I'll go back to it again. You know, this business, could there be sarking up, and I agreed with Jamie because I was listening to the video this morning, Mad Delicious Babies. I agreed with Jamie. We need to, there we are, keep our eyes on this now, okay? Because it's as if they want to roll another president out and then bring in, well, something even worse than before, Mad Delicious Little Babies, it seems, okay? And of course, you know, that one's quite a younger one. Do you know what I mean? Mad Delicious Little Babies. Of course, oh no, sorry, who did we have? We had Jay Kennedy, wasn't it? He was quite young when he passed. Mad Delicious Little Babies. Mind you, before he passed, he signed the vaccine, didn't he? Mad Delicious Little Babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay. And of course, there is still questions to be answered, like on the day of his assassination, you know, why is it so that Jackie Kennedy, then she became what did she become? Jackie Onassis. Her dress on the day, My Delicious Little Babies, nobody ever seen it again. So you see, when you look at this, My Delicious Little Babies, okay, and I watched that all that footage of what happened, My Delicious Little Babies. I mean, straight away you notice that the bodyguards. I watched this. There we are, years ago, My Delicious Little Babies, where they just came out of the way. But you know, then somebody else got the blame, and you know, blah 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 blah. Who used to say that we used to hear quite a lot about a few years ago? What's her name? Greta Thunberg, is it? My Delicious Little Babies, you know what I mean? You do not see much of her now, do you? My Delicious Little Babies, that's what I say. What they do, they wheel them in, there we are, then they wheel them out again, back behind the curtain, My Delicious Little Babies, do you see what I mean, okay? So, you know, to myself, I'm not entirely sure about this. And not only that, but when ones have a rich living, like all of these in the world, My Delicious Little Babies have had rich living, you know, with clean water, My Delicious Little Babies. Do you know what I mean? Not dirty tap water, what they like to give to everybody else in the world, My Delicious Little Babies. You know what I mean? And they eat clean food, My Delicious Little Babies, okay? Well, it's no wonder that they're never poorly, My Delicious Little Babies. Do you know what I mean, okay? I'm not so sure that I'm believing that story either, My Delicious Little Babies, with Trouble Trump now. So probably this video will not get out either, My Delicious Little Babies, do you know what I mean? But that's all right. There we are, just as long as I know that I've said it in my camera. There we are. Makes me feel, there we are, 1,000 times better. Hip, hip, hooray! Do you know what I mean? Oh, and just in case anybody does happen to listen to my video today, I was listening to our lovely Redacted yesterday evening. So, you know, not in that way, okay? So with little Natalie, happy birthday, our little angel, bless her, 47. Oh, bless. I hope you had a lovely birthday, little Natalie. You know what I mean? I just love listening to Redacted. You know what I mean? My Delicious Little Babies. And, you know, not in that way. But I just think they're a wonderful couple. Do you know what I mean? Okay? And they do get some really good guests on, to be fair, My Delicious Little Babies. But I hope that little Natalie had a beautiful birthday. Okay? I did actually say when I was listening to the video, I said, happy birthday, little Natalie. Have a lovely time. Oh, she's a Virgo, a fellow Virgo like myself, My Delicious Little Babies. Do you know what I mean? Yes. You see, that's the same thing as well, My Delicious Little Babies. It's like when I used to do my Virgo videos, you know, when I started out on YouTube 4 years ago, My Delicious Little Babies. Do you see what I mean? And, you know, and when I, because that's why I put it, Mia space Tarot, Mia Tarot, and then half and Virgo, My Delicious Little Babies, because I'm a Virgo. But I noticed that my Virgo readings, again, you know, just a figure of speech, it was a stranglehold. You know what I mean, My Delicious Little Babies? I'm not sure about other channels, but I know for myself that, yeah, it's like YouTube, there we are, was cherry picking which videos of man would be shown, you know, to mankind, and certainly the videos that never got shown. Do you see what I mean, My Delicious Little Babies? Do you see, there we are, how this rocks and rolls? Do you see? So, so yeah, oh, little Natalie. I hope you had a lovely birthday, our little darling. Do you know what I mean? Yes, okay. Because, like I said, they work super, there we are, they work super duper hard. Do you know what I mean? And they too, to be fair, have lots of problems, you know what I mean, concerning, the censorship and all of this as well. So they've got the same problem, Mad Delicious. Everybody has, there we are, everybody has Mad Delicious Little Babies. Do you see what I mean, okay? So this is what we're up against at the moment, my delicious little babies. But no, I will not stop speaking. You know what I mean? Okay, so if I'm talking in my camera, and then many days you hardly get a view. Well, you hardly get a view. That's just the way it goes, isn't it? It's the way it rocks and rolls. It shouldn't do it that way, but it does. Do you see what I mean? Okay, it's what's called not playing the game correctly. Do you see what I mean? It's what's called unfair. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay, but that's how it rocks and rolls. But somebody else, I repeat again, can feed everybody, their followers, subscribers, there we are, turtle bullshit, and their numbers go bing, 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 bing. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Do you follow how this works? Slightly stumbled there, rightfully so. Anyway, my delicious little babies, so yeah, we'll just keep an eye on what's going on. I'm also getting a feeling here as well, my delicious little babies, that maybe this war narrative, and there we are, and everything what's going on now, like I heard on our lovely Not In That Way, our lovely UK column, as I did, on our lovely trending on Iconic this morning. Yeah, so somewhere else has bombed, but when you looked at it very closely, what? So it was a few machines and things like this then. That's what it was. And then you seen that poxy bitch, what's her name, von der Leyen. The EU, that one. The one who looks like a man. Walk like a man, talk like a man. Do you know what I mean, Martin babies? There's no way somebody could tell me that that's a woman. Okay, that's just my thoughts, my delicious babies. It's not the first time that I've said this. It's not going to be the last. Looks like a man. There we are. Looks like a man to me. Okay, my delicious babies, And if it is female, if it is a female, well, it's one of the oddest. There we are, looking females I've seen. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay. Anyway, it seems to be up its own hole a lot of the time, my delicious little babies. Oh, and she was rambling on, saying, oh, they're just so grateful, words to effect, not the exact words, so thankful that, their staff, were not hurt or anything like that. To myself, it just all looked like, again, it's just one big stage. My delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. But getting back to this now then, so it's very clear to myself, my delicious little babies, that I feel as though there we are, they're losing somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go back, say, 2004, because I was getting different, I was out and about yesterday, my delicious little babies, I forgot to say this, and there was different number plates, like 2004, 2017, 1959, 1969, 1972. I was just trying to memorise them all, my delicious little babies. Okay. Oh, 1936. There we are. That was on a van as well, my delicious little babies. Okay, but these were cars and vans. Okay, my delicious little babies. And there's lots of difference in 2018. Then it went to 2022 and 2024. Yeah, I stumbled there, rightfully, sir. Okay, my delicious little babies. So, at the end of the day, it's always nice to just maybe, remind of there we are of the different years, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Because it's a bit like, when you walk out around a park or a lake, you're guaranteed you could walk around that lake or park, there we are, 1,000 times. And each time, there we are, you'll see something new, like a new tree or a new bush. Now, it's always been there, but it's just one never spotted it. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? It's like that. I have that myself whenever I walk around that lake, my delicious little babies. I do not go so very often. My beautiful little Rube, she's not very keen on that lake for some reason, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? Okay, I don't know what it is. Her spirit just doesn't take it and she wants to walk back again. She's just not comfortable with it at all. So usually when we do go around, it's like I have to put her on the lead, which I do not like to have to do, because she should just be free to roam. She's not a harm to anybody. Bless her beautiful dear little soul. But it's just like you're bringing her along, like it's like reluctant, you know what I mean? She doesn't really want to do that walk around there, and it's got nothing for the fact she doesn't want to walk. It's to do with the fact that it's the energies there we are in the lake that she's not a liking. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? But I've walked around there many a time. And each time I spot something new, a new bush or a new tree or something. Do you see what I mean? I said, well, how come I've never seen that before? And yet it's always been there. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? So I hope that you've got, there we are, what I'm saying to you, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see now. But I do not feel that this is going too well for them. Plus the fact that, because they keep rambling on about aeroplane crashes and all of this now then. But of course, because you got certain uploaders, my delicious little babies, let's just say, just a figure of speech again, who have a lot of, there we are, clout, that ones, bless them, there we are, will gladly listen to them, okay? Because they cut through the bullshit. There we are. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? So because of this is why you've got all this censorship, because like I say, then we go back again. If we go back all those years ago, it's like you could say something, couldn't you? And let's be fair, ones would believe. But now there are very few who believe in the box in the corner of the room, especially the old BBC, my delicious little babies, because less and less and less are watching the BBC. You know what I mean? That's why they've had to move on to onto the internet in social media. You see what I mean? Okay, that's why you're getting more. I mean, when you actually look at it, and you really look at this very closely, if you've got a leader of any country, I mean, why would they? That's what I want to say. Why would they want to be sending tweets? And to myself, these are supposed to be who ones are supposed to look up to. They're supposed to be professionals. Do you know what I mean? Well, the way I see it is, sending tweets. I mean, to myself, I see that as being, there we are, most unprofessional. My delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Because if ones want to look up to ones, well, surely one should act far more, there we are, professionally. It's like, since when did you see all of I mean, I've never seen, in all of these decades, I've never seen so many in that stage, in the Oval Office, my delicious little babies in DC. I've never seen so many mankind all in one room, my delicious little babies, of what we've seen of late, my delicious little babies. You see what I'm saying, okay? So more and more and more, there we are starting to see this, okay, my delicious little babies, which of course, there we are, this can only be a good thing. But on the other hand, when somebody keeps saying that, it's the best thing that ever happened, like this, and of course, they're still wanting to roll out these. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, to little babies and everything. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? It's as though they're being, it's like they're, let's just say, how can we say it? They're stamping their feet. So they're stamping their feet just like a toddler, and they're saying to all of us in the world, well, whatever you say, they throw the dummy out the pram. You see what I mean? They stamp their feet, okay, and they say, no, well, we're going to be defiant because we're going to continue on our mission to kill as many as what we can because they are murderers. You see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay, this is what we're going through. There we are at this present time, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? Okay, because it is. If you know that that these putrid jibby jabs are not helping anybody, then why continue to dish them out? That's the question I'm asking my delicious little baby simpleton. Just a question. You see what I mean? Okay. Well, we know the reason why, don't we? And of course, with that, what's his name? That putrid PRRCK. What's his name? RF Kennedy. Okay. Well, ones are all looking up to him, and and I'm just saying to myself, well, why are you doing it? He was done telling everybody in his damn camera that in 4 years he wants everybody on wearables. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay, so tracking everything that you do. You know what I mean? We was not brought here from our dear creator to live like this, to have a tattoo stamped on your head, you know what I mean? So that they know everywhere where you're going and what you're doing. None of us were meant to live like that, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay. What right do these have? They have absolutely zero effing right to do any of this, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying, okay? But it's as though they do not want to stop. But the way that I see it is, each time they're doing this, there we are, before I even say it, is each time more and more, there we are going to say something's not correct here, something's not right. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? So if you really look at it, there we are. They've severely, there we are, dropped themselves in it. My only, another question that I want to ask my delicious little babies is why these putrid, because they are putrid, the worse than putrid actually, why they are still, there we are, getting away with this. Okay, my delicious little babies, that's the question that I'm asking. Another simple question. Do you see what I mean, okay? And anybody who falls into that trap for these wearables, well, good luck to them. There we are. Good luck to them. Because rightfully so, there we are, they have well and truly, hook, line and sinker, just an old-fashioned saying, there we are, they have clearly taken the mark of the beast. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? Because they feel it's in the best interest. So if we go back to 2020 onwards, my delicious little babies, never mind what's gone on over the decades, there's plenty, there we are, to write about them, my delicious little babies, okay? That one still seem to think that these are saviours. Well, I tell you what, they need to rock and roll on. And I do believe that whomever it may be who seems to look up to these, they need a effing check-up from the neck up, okay? Because they're clearly mentally, there we are, impaired, my delicious little babies, because nobody with any normal functioning noddle would believe this effing bullshit. You see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? So this is what we're up against, my delicious little babies. But again, do I feel that they're going to win here? Like, if we go back 2020 and we go back to all of the protests, we go back to all of this, and then we go back to when the jibby jab was very sadly administered. Well, it's very clear to myself, as it is to others, my delicious little babies, it's just ding, ding, dong, dong common sense that who they thought that they were going to fully inject, they never quite got the job done. My delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Oh, yes, they did part of the job. And look, there we are, very sadly, in the world, there we are, what has happened, very sadly. Of course, not to the effers who are pushing it, because as far as I'm concerned, there we are, they got what the duck given. There we are. They got what the duck given. They shouldn't have been pushing this and pushing that and telling ones to take this and take that and then end up damn sick themselves. They deserve every damn thing they got. And more. There we are. And more. Okay, so no, I do not feel sorry for them. No, I do not. And this is not just myself going through she's going through a horrible phase, she's going through a nasty phase, it must be her going through the change. No, it isn't. I'm just telling, there we are, the damn truth as how I see it. Look at how many, bless the beautiful dear little souls, there we are, from a baby up to an adult. Look how they're suffering. And yet still, there we are, these putrid want to continue this in our country, in a born in the USA, over in America, my delicious little babies, and in other countries. Do you know what I mean? And then they say, oh, about some of the leaders, listening on all different videos, some of the leaders, oh, well, they really didn't want to harm their population. Look, at the end of the day, my delicious little babies, I'm not shouting at yourselves. You know I'd never do that. I love you all so, okay? The fact of the matter is this. They knew, there we are, fully well, where their effing wages, ka-ching, is coming from, isn't it? So I'll repeat it again. If they really thought that they were doing good for their populations and they really didn't want to do anything bad, they would have, there we are, stepped down. Simple thing, they would have stepped down. But they never stepped down, did they? Okay? Because they want their, there we are, ka-ching, luxuries, or, if they've done something, I don't know. Heaven knows. Okay, my delicious little babies, because for the majority, they're either compromised or blackmailed or something, my delicious little babies, okay? Well, the fact of the matter is, they just stay in those positions. Well, you know something, for the sake of that, I would just say no and just walk. You know what I mean? Just get on your back and pedal fast. You see what I mean? And say, no, I'm not doing this, okay? Because you see, these here, right, you see, they've been themselves, there we are, enslaved as well, my delicious little babies. And I'm going to repeat this again. That's why you see with a lot of these, it's like they live till about 100. There we are, my delicious little babies, you see what I mean? And these, to whom it may concern, they just roll them out, there we are, for as long as what they can. I've said this before, my delicious little babies, okay? So when you're an outsider and you can see inside, okay, my delicious little babies, there we are. It's very easy to see, okay? But now we've got in our excuse me, my delicious baby. Sorry, I've had me prawn egg fried rice today. My delicious babies. It was a toss up between a curry or a prawn egg fried rice, and I thought, you know what, I fancy a prawn egg fried rice, so that's what I've had. So please excuse me, my delicious babies, okay? Lots of garlic. I always use a lot of garlic, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Keeps all of the vampires away. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? Anyway, but no, well, I'm being flipping serious, you know what I mean? I love to eat my garlic. Anyway, my delicious little babies. So, yeah. So what we got here now? So, yes, everybody's rambling on about reform. Well, they're a crock of shit anyway. You know what I mean? None of them are any flipping good. And, of course, it's very questionable. Even if somebody else got in, it's only a matter of time. There we are, before, the corruption, there we are, starts again, my delicious little babies. Like I said, it's just chat. It's just words. It means jack shart. But of course, still on different platforms, you'll say, oh, well, we want reform, or we want whoever it's going to be next, or whatever else. Do you know what I mean? My delicious babies. And then you hear others who've been, well, they've been saying this long time about that is another PRRCK Farage. Okay, my delicious babies, because he kept it all shushy, didn't he? He didn't want to talk about jibber jabs, did he? Okay. And ones are saying, oh, he could be the next Prime Minister. Well, look, whoever gets in, there we are. They're a piece of shit. The best thing to do is nobody vote for them at all. That's a simple thing, just nobody vote. It's just like if nobody went, changing the subject. But anyway, the moral's still the same. It's just different what I'm saying. It's like if nobody used supermarkets all in the world just for 1 week, or never bought Coca-Cola. That's another one. My delicious little babies never bought Coca-Cola for 1 week, just 1 week. What would happen? Well, it's quite obvious, isn't it? There we are. Ding, ding, dong, dong. That's not sarcastic to you, my delicious little babies. Okay, well, for a start off, no business, no jobs. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? But then you find that, like how ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching makes the world go, well, they say it's round. I'm not too sure. Anyway, we all have our own views, my delicious little babies, okay? But as they say, makes the world go round, ka-ching, you know what I mean? Well, that wouldn't be circulating, would it, my delicious little babies? Do you see what I mean, okay? So what am I saying here? You see, if everybody just, said, well, no, I'm not going to vote, you know what I mean? Then what they're going to do? Because then they would then prove themselves, there we are, wouldn't they, martyrdom babies? Because then they prove themselves, because if they're just going to put somebody in government because, to whom it may concern is then decided to put somebody else in, then everybody can clearly see the corruption here, can't they, martyrdom babies? Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm saying to you. Okay, but to myself, that's the only way that I can see things. I mean, look what happened in America, where all that was rigged. There we are, martyrdom babies. But if you look at it, there we are. It's been rigged for decades, hasn't it? And correct me if I'm wrong, but is I mean, not that I'm big on politics, because I'm not, okay, but has America had an honest, legitimate, is that the word, legitimate president? When was it? Was it since? Oh, it was 19 something, wasn't it? But then after that, some say that well, really, they've not really had a president since. You may have seen the so-called presidents, but they're not really presidents. Just like that Poxy, the other PRRCK, Zelensky. Well, he's in Ukraine. Well, whenever he's not swanning around the world, Martlish baby, he's just making his damn shart stink everywhere he goes. The fact of the matter is, Martlish babies, Kai. Well, he's not there in an honest fashion either. Is he, Martlish babies? Can you see what I'm saying? See, what's happened is, there we are, we've just been lied to, there we are, for decades and decades and decades, there we are, constantly. Martlish babies, it's all one big effing fat barefaced lie. Do you see what I mean, Martlish babies, Kai? So I'm just saying it the way it is, the way that I see it anyway. I do not believe that there's a real president that's been in America for a long time now. Do you see what I mean, Martin? Babies. Of course, I could have it wrong. You could have somebody else who's well into politics and they could say, well, what's she talking about? She's just talking about a load of bullshit. I'm not sure that I am, Martin babies. I'm not sure that I am talking a load of bullshit, Martin babies. Do you know what I mean? Okay. But it's very clear to myself from what we can see over the decades, these ones get groomed, don't they? So they go to these, these posh, tooty-hooty schools, you know what I mean? And then they learn to become the real brainwashed, you know what I mean? And then their mummies and daddies, aunties, uncles, families, they say, my son, my daughter's a politician, an MP or whatever else they want to call them, do you know what I mean? And it's super duper wonderful. But when you actually look at to whom it may concern, over these decades, they have gone out of their way, it seems, to make these in the world, so-called governments, to make them look like PRRCKs. There we are. Do you know what I mean, Martin babies, Kai? Yet still, they sit in those positions of so-called power. The way I see it is, my delicious little babies, I do not see them as being powerful at all. I repeat again, like I've said over a long time on my videos, they're little men, there we are, in little women in little suits. That's all they are. You know what I mean? They stand on their little stage, or they stand with their little podiums. Do you see what I mean, okay? They're bribed to oblivion. Do you know what I mean? So you do this to me, you're going to get ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. You know what I mean? And then they want to destroy, and they've been doing a good job of it over the decades. Our farmers, not just in our country but in other countries. Okay, so if they feel that their ka-ching, 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 ka-ching is going to carry them very far, well, if we haven't got farmers for food, or we haven't got anything like this now, then maybe they would have to chomp on their hard change or their plastic, wouldn't they, Martin? Baby, because it's going to mean jack shart. If we're in a world, there we are, with no damn food or water, Martin babies, do you see what I mean, okay? But this is how they're wanting to steer our world, because they want, there we are, full control of us. Well, I tell you now, I'm not having no chipping myself. So they can flipping rock on with that. Rock on, Tommy, because it's not flipping happening with myself, you know what I mean? Okay? My mummy and daddy, how I love my, beautiful dear Mama Bear, sir. I already said good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to herself, okay? And my dear dad, they never brought myself into the world to be treated like that. And neither did other mummies and daddies. They did not do that either. You see what I mean? They just want to destroy everything. Families, they want to make everybody's lives flipping depressing, miserable, upsetting. I mean, this morning I was listening to, it was somewhere over the road, and these tree surgeons, where they come and chop the trees down, and then they, you know what I mean, they feed it through the machine, and then, then they can sell it, I suppose, or whatever they do, for like chippings or whatever else, mad little babies, you know what I mean? I mean, it was a right flipping racket from early this morning, mad little babies, a right flipping racket, man. And if you notice, it's certain mankind, okay, who run the world, mad little babies, to whom it may concern. It's like they just create noise. There we are. They just create noise, and there we are, create destruction. I mean, everywhere you look. I mean, that's why I hate, absolutely despise going to our city centre. Mad little babies, you know what I mean? Because everywhere you damn well look, it's flipping construction here, construction there, construction effing everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And they all look flipping damn same, like a flipping damn square, mad little babies, you know what I mean? They don't have any beautiful, like the older buildings, beautiful architecture, anything like that. No, they're just a one big effing horrible square, mad little babies, with large panes of bloody effing glass in them. I cannot stand the place, mad little babies. And very lastly, just before I go, so I was talking to a dear elderly gentleman down the road from myself the other day, mad little babies, and oh, bless him, I haven't seen him for a while anyway. And he was telling myself, because I said, I remember when you said to myself that here, where I live, mad little babies, that it used to be sandpits, okay, mad little babies, but then he was explaining to me he's never done that before. He said over at the lakes, he said it used to be boats on there, because he's really elderly, mad little babies, bless him, okay? Used to be boats on there. There used to be a park keeper, okay, mad little babies, okay? He said over the other side, he said there used to be, for some reason, that name has stuck in my noddle. I won't say it, mad little babies, the dear gentleman's name, not in that way, not in that way. There used to be lots of chicken pens, okay, mad delicious little babies, where they used to lay eggs and everything like this, just only a hop, skip and a jump from where I live on our road, mad delicious little babies. And he said where we were stood, then he said then just there used to be like, because there was someone else as well where they used to do with little, oh, they're all so beautiful, chickens, piggies, little pigs and everything. And then there used to be somewhere where ones could put what was it like? I assume what he meant by it was like vegetables and things. Then you could put that there, and then that was all for the little piggies and everything. Look at that, my delicious babies. That's how this road, there we are, used to be. He was explaining how it used to be. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? I said, well, it's changed, hasn't it? In all the decades that you've been here, bless. And he said, he's such a polite, dear elderly gentleman, really, really sweet, very softly spoken. And he said, yes. He said it really has changed. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? But it was just really lovely and fascinating. There we are, having a conversation. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? And that's how I'm going to leave it. So, yes, it's amazing when you see all of the changes. And it's usually mankind who's done it, my delicious little babies. So it's not yourself or myself. Okay, so yourself or myself, or our beautiful little generations before us. No, 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 no. It is these putrid, there we are, who are so-called supposed to be in power. So instead of making our lives wonderful and delicious, all they want to do, there we are, is clutter our lives, there we are, all over the world, our country and other countries. and just clutter our world with shart because they've been told what to do, told what to do. Do you see what I mean? My delicious little babies, okay? But they too must remember that they're just being, I repeat again, like I've said long time on my videos, they're just being there we are used the damn selves. Do you see what I mean? Okay. But I genuinely believe that some of them, there we are just too far gone. There's nothing you could do to help them. But if I ever hear on any platform, no matter where it is in the world, and then they say, oh, but it's not the politicians. Yes, it is. Because there we are, because they do not have to do it. They know right from wrong. Okay, my delicious little baby. So any time when I hear videos like that, 9 times out of 10, I will usually at some point just bing, click off it. I don't want to hear it. It's a crock of shart. They know what they're doing. We would be far better off, there we are, governing ourselves in all our countries. There we are. I've always said that, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? And then you'll more than likely find, there we are, that we will all get on. There we are, after a few teething issues, there we are, you know, knowing what's what, who's going to be doing what, and things like this, you know, meaning in a nice way. Well, there we are. We would get on super duper and deliciously well. Do you see what I mean? Ones would have, there we are, more leisure time. Ones who have skills to do different things. Do you see what I mean? Okay. I truly believe, there we are, that it could work, there we are, wonderfully, and there we are, deliciously. Do you see what I mean? Okay. But we do not need enemies like this, my delicious little babies. So no, I'm not inciting anything. I'm just done saying it. Okay. If they choose to do what they're doing, attacking us, okay, in our old England and in other countries, because that's what they're doing. They're attacking their populations, okay. Well, it's very clear to myself that they're not friends of ours, are they, my delicious babies? They are clearly, there we are, enemies. They're enemies of their mankind. There we are, that's what they are, my delicious babies. Do you see what I mean, okay? So we do not need them. And let's face it, if any one of them went to go into another job, nobody would have them anywhere, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? Not even to scrub the floors. They'd say, you know what, the floor's too good to scrub for you to scrub the floor. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? I just say stick them on an island and let them eat their own damn selves and see how far, there we are, they get on their little island together. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay? Without the big colossal mansions and all of their ching ching chings. You see what I mean? And all of their luxuries. See how far they'd get then. Do you know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, then they would clearly understand how mankind in their country, there we are, then would feel. Do you see what I'm saying, my delicious babies? And that's how I'm going to end it. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. May your beautiful little selves, your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected. How I love you all so. Thank you so very much for listening, even though nobody listens to my videos. But if anybody does happen to listen, you know, who's listened to my videos in the past, you know, thank you. And thank you for any likes, and thank you for the occasional comments, and how I love you so. So please have a super duper beautiful and delicious time wherever you are. And I hope that the weather, there we are, is super duper beautiful and delicious for you all. Okay. So until my next video, you just take care now. Thank you for listening once again. Love ya. Goodbye.